I couldn't go to school because I didn't have any money to pay for the tuition. I work as a bus boy, I work as a taxi driver, as a truck driver.
Desi Arnaz, the beloved I Love Lucy star, left behind a legacy shrouded in mystery. Despite living a life filled with ups and downs, his tragic death left his wife and 4 children to cope with the aftermath. But what happened to his fortune? Join us as we dig into the untold truths of his life and legacy. From exile to stardom, Arnaz was born in Santiago de Cuba, Cuba. To his parents, Desiderio Alberto Arnaz y de Alberni II, and Dolores Lolita de Acha y de Socias. His father was the youngest mayor of Santiago, and also a member of the Cuban House of Representatives. His mother's father was Alberto de Acha, who worked as an executive at Bacardi & Co., a rum producer. Arnaz came from a prestigious Cuban family and was a descendant of José Joaquín, who was a mayor in Santiago de Cuba. The Cuban Revolution in 1933 caused Arnaz and his family to lose everything and leave Cuba. Their homes, belongings, and animals were destroyed by a violent mob. Arnaz was lucky to escape the attack by getting into a car that was leaving. His father, Alberto Arnaz, was imprisoned and lost all his possessions. He was released 6 months later with the help of his father-in-law, Alberto de Acha. The family moved to Miami, where Desi went to high school alongside Albert "Sonny" Capone, the only child of famous Chicago mobster Al Capone. Desi's family came to the U.S. with no money, forcing him to live with his father in a garage infested with rats and roaches. In 1934, he went to St. Leo Prep near Tampa to improve his English. His early jobs included working at Woolworths and cleaning canary cages in Miami. Desi later started a tile business with his father before pursuing a career in show business. After Arnaz graduated from high school, he joined a band called the Siboney Septet and started gaining recognition in Miami. Xavier Cugat noticed Arnaz's talent and invited him to join his orchestra, where he played the conga drum and sang. Inspired by his success, Arnaz decided to form his band, the Desi Arnaz Orchestra. Arnaz and his orchestra were popular in the club scene of New York City, especially at a club called La Conga. He is known for introducing conga line dancing to the United States. In 1939, Rodgers and Hart discovered him and gave him a role in their successful Broadway show, Too Many Girls, which was later bought by RKO Pictures for a movie adaptation. Arnaz went to Hollywood the following year to act in the movie adaptation of the show at RKO, where Lucille Ball also starred. During the movie's filming, Arnaz and Ball fell in love and secretly got married on November 4, 1940. In the 1940s, Arnaz acted in various films including Baton, featuring Robert Taylor. His character Felix Ramirez, a fun-loving soldier, was praised by New York Times critic Bosley Crowther for being believable in his role. At 27, 1943, Arnaz was informed that he had to go into the military, but he couldn't go overseas because of high blood pressure and injuries to his knees, which caused him a lot of pain when he exerted himself physically. He hurt his left knee before joining the military, and his right knee shortly after enlisting on May 23, 1943, during a baseball game at Camp Arlington. He finished his basic training but was only allowed to serve in limited capacity in the U.S. Army during World War II. He was tasked with overseeing the USO programs at the Birmingham General Army Hospital in the San Fernando Valley. He had to make sure that the injured soldiers were kept entertained while they were recovering. Because of his connections in Hollywood, Arnaz was able to bring in celebrities to visit the hospital and lift the soldiers' spirits. When he found out that the wounded soldiers wanted cold milk, he arranged for movie starlets to meet them and pour the milk for them. Arnaz spent a total of 2 years 7 months, and 4 days in the military. He was part of the 9th Service Command in the Army Service Forces. During his time in World War II, Arnaz received the Army Good Conduct Medal, the American Campaign Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal as recognition for his service. Arnaz left his position as a staff sergeant on September 30, 1945. Despite all this, Arnaz's life did not stop there. He continued to build his career, but with growth came its set of challenges. Television pioneer and entertainment icon. On December 1, 1945, Desi Arnaz started a successful new orchestra that became popular for its live shows and recorded music. He played at Birmingham Hospital for Soldiers with John Makia and brought in his childhood friend Marco Rizzo to be the piano player and music arranger for the band. In the 1946 to 1947 season, Arnaz led the Desi Arnaz Orchestra on Bob Hope's NBC radio program, The Pep Soden Show. In 1951, CBS wanted to keep Arnaz and his wife, Lucille Ball, at the network, so they gave him a radio game show called Your Tropical Trip. The show, which included Arnaz and his band, had audience members competing for a Caribbean vacation. It ran from January to September 1951, ending right before I Love Lucy premiered in October. After achieving success on TV, Arnaz kept his orchestra employed, and Rizzo was in charge of arranging and orchestrating music for I Love Lucy. Arnaz made his debut on the series on October 15, 1951, playing a character based on himself as a Cuban bandleader named Ricky Ricardo.
Is an actor, a musician, a producer, a director and author, and to millions of television viewers, however, he will always be known as Ricky Ricardo. More than a pleasure now to welcome Mr. Desi Arnaz.
He talks about Arnaz's career. His wife Lucy was played by Ball. CBS initially wanted Ball to adapt her radio show for TV with her radio co-star Richard Denning as the male lead. He talks about their male lead.
And we wanted to work together.
Yeah.
So she says, I want Desi to play the husband. Well, the husband in the radio show was Richard Denning.
However, Ball insisted on Arnaz so they could work together. The creators originally planned for them to be Lucy and Larry Lopez, a successful showbiz couple. However, after conducting market research, they realized this wouldn't be popular. Jess Oppenheimer changed their characters to Ricky, a struggling orchestra leader, and Lucy, a regular housewife with dreams of showbiz but not much talent. They decided to change Larry Lopez to Ricky Ricardo to prevent confusion with bandleader Vincent Lopez. Ricky frequently played at the Tropicana Club, which he eventually purchased and renamed Club Babalu. At first, TV executives were unsure about Desi Arnaz's heavy Cuban accent and Latin flair, thinking it wouldn't appeal to American viewers. To show they could work well together on screen, Lucille Ball and Arnaz performed in a vaudeville act in 1950 with a Spanish clown and Ball's radio show writers. Parts of their act, like Lucy's seal routine, were included in the pilot episode of I Love Lucy. Their hard work paid off, and the show became a historic success, establishing them as TV trailblazers. In 1950, Ball and Arnaz started Desilu Productions to produce their vaudeville act, which eventually became I Love Lucy. Back then, most TV shows were live from New York, with low-quality recordings for the rest of the country. Arnaz and cinematographer Carl Freund came up with a way to film in front of a live audience, using multiple cameras for better quality broadcasts. Arnaz worked through challenges to ensure they met fire safety codes. To afford using 35mm film, Ball and Arnaz took pay cuts to keep the rights to the show's films. This decision led to the creation of reruns and syndication, bringing in new revenue. Arnaz was involved in the production of various TV shows besides I Love Lucy, such as The Ann Sothern Show and Those Whiting Girls. He also worked on series like The Untouchables, Whirlybirds, and Sheriff of Cochise, United States Marshal. During his time producing The Untouchables, there were rumors of a mafia plot to harm him because of the show's depiction of gangsters, which Arnaz denied. He also acted in the movie Forever Darling alongside Ball in 1956. After divorcing Ball, Arnaz sold his ownership of Desi to her in 1962. He then started his production company called Desi Arnaz Productions. Arnaz produced a TV show called The Mothers-in-Law from 1967 to 1969, where he also appeared as a guest star playing a Spanish matador named Señor Delgado. Desi remained in operation as its entity, eventually merging with Paramount Television. Arnaz's new company, Desi 2, worked together with Lucille Ball Productions and MPI Home Video to re-release shows like Here's Lucy and The Mothers-in-Law. In the 1970s, Arnaz was a co-host on The Mike Douglas Show along with Vivian Vance as a guest. He also starred in a special for NBC's Kraft Music Hall with his children and a cameo by Vance. Arnaz had surgery and a long recovery after a severe bout of diverticulitis in 1971. He later worked on 2 TV shows with Universal Studios, Dr. Domingo, making a guest appearance on Ironside, and chairman of the board with Elka Sommer. But both shows were unsuccessful. Arnaz took 2 years to write his autobiography called A Book. To promote it, he hosted Saturday Night Live on February 21, 1976, where his son Desi Jr. also made an appearance. During the show, they did spoofs of I Love Lucy and The Untouchables. One skit showed Arnaz living with Louis Armstrong in a parody called I Love Louie. Arnaz also sang Babaloo and Cuban Pete and led the SNL cast in a conga line. In that year, CBS showed CBS Salutes Lucy, the first 25 years, which was the first time Arnaz and Ball were on screen together in 16 years since their divorce. When asked about going back to TV in a 1976 interview, Arnaz said it was tough to compete with the young Ricky Ricardo. In 1978, Arnaz appeared as a guest on the TV show Alice, which was created by the writers of I Love Lucy, Madeline Pugh Davis and Bob Carroll Jr. His last role as an actor was playing Mayor Leon Quinones in the movie The Escape Artist in 1982. Arnaz once owned the Indian Wells Country Club in Palm Desert, California. Later, he taught television production and acting classes at San Diego State University. Now, let's take a closer look at his love life. Despite having an established career, Arnaz's personal life was filled with ups and downs. A tumultuous love story.
I don't think so in any other country in the world that you could do what have happened to me here.
Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball got married on November 30, 1940. Their marriage was passionate but also had a lot of problems. Ball believed Arnaz was cheating on her because he often came home very late and drunk. This made her decide to file for divorce in September 1944. However, they faced a problem with the divorce process because of a California state law in effect at the time. They were granted a temporary divorce decree in October 1944, but since they spent the night together just before it was finalized, the divorce was canceled. Even though their relationship had its ups and downs, Arnaz and Ball stayed together and had 2 kids, Lucy Arnaz, born in 1951, and Desi Arnaz Jr., born in 1953. Both children ended up pursuing acting careers, just like their famous parents. Arnaz's personal life became more well-known to the public through claims made in Hollywood procurer Scotty Bowers' memoir, Full Service. Bowers stated that he arranged for Arnaz to see 2 to 3 prostitutes a week, with each one being paid $200, which was a lot more than the usual $20 at the time. Lucille Ball found out about this and confronted Bowers by slapping him in a public outburst, accusing him of pimping for her husband. Over time, their marriage became more strained, especially because Arnaz was dealing with alcoholism, gambling, and cheating. Running their production company, Desi, was good but also difficult. Even though the company was successful, the stress of managing its growth affected Arnaz. He wrote in his memoir that these pressures led him to destructive behavior as he tried to cope with his many responsibilities. At the same time, he was also dealing with diverticulitis, a painful condition that added to his personal problems. In the end, their marriage fell apart. On March 2, 1960, which happened to be Arnaz's birthday, Ball asked for a divorce, marking the official end of their 20-year relationship. But they still had to figure out their work partnership. Ball went back to doing weekly TV shows, and she and Arnaz talked about what would happen with their business, Desi. They made a deal where Ball bought Arnaz's part of the company, taking over all of its operations. After his divorce, Arnaz got married again. His second wife was Edith McHirsch, formerly McSkimming, and they got married on March 2, 1963, on his birthday. Unlike his first marriage, Arnaz was less involved in show business during his marriage to Hirsch. They were together for 22 years until Edith passed away from cancer on March 23, 1985. Even after Arnaz and Ball divorced and found new partners, their strong connection remained. As the years passed, they rekindled their friendship and became closer during Arnaz's later years. A touching moment demonstrating their bond occurred in 1986 when Ball was recognized at the Kennedy Center. Since Arnaz couldn't attend in person, he wrote a heartfelt message that was read by actor Robert Stack at the event. In the message, Arnaz expressed that "I Love Lucy" was more than just a title. This emotional tribute highlighted the enduring love and appreciation they had for each other, despite the challenges they faced in their relationship. Family videos were shown on TV later, capturing a sweet moment between the couple who used to be married. The footage showed Ball and Arnaz spending time with their grandson Simon, not long before Arnaz died. But what is the truth surrounding Arnaz's relationship with his children? Keep watching to find out more. Desi Arnaz and his children, a bond that withstood time.
As a great showman, musician, father, husband, great part of our innovation.
Desi Arnaz was not just famous in Hollywood, but he was also a father who truly cared for his kids, Lucille Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr. Even though he was busy with his career and had his difficulties, his connection with them was always strong. Though fame and personal issues at times caused some distance, his love for them never faltered. Lucy and Desi Jr. grew up in the public eye because their parents, Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, were a very famous couple. Their house was always busy with cameras, scripts, and talk about show business. However, when they were not in the public eye, Desi was a loving father to his kids. When Desi was young, he prioritized being there for his children.
He didn't insist or instill, he didn't force feed us this stuff. He kept making this great food. Remember him making
He loved to cook.
Loved to cook, and he was a wonderful cook, but he did make, the paella and the pique.
He enjoyed being silly and making them smile. Despite his fame, he wasn't hesitant to join in on their games. Desi valued family because of his heritage and aimed to raise his kids with affection. Life wasn't always ideal for Desi. His marriage with Lucille Ball ended in divorce while their kids were still young. The breakup was tough for Desi, Lucille, as well as their children Lucy and Desi Jr. Despite their parents staying on good terms, the split altered the family dynamic. Desi had a hard time with alcohol, which sometimes caused problems. There were moments when his struggles with alcohol put a strain on his relationship with his children. However, even during tough times, his love for them never wavered. He always made an effort to demonstrate to them that they were his top priority. Lucy Arnaz had a close relationship with her father. She looked up to his talent and charm, while also sympathizing with his challenges. As she got older, she evolved from being just his daughter to also being his confidant and companion. Lucy decided to pursue a career in acting and singing, just like her parents. Desi was very proud of her and supported her dreams, always reminding her of her talents. He celebrated her achievements and comforted her during tough times. Even after Desi's divorce from Lucille, he stayed in touch with their daughter, Lucy. She frequently came to see him, and their connection remained strong. They had honest talks, shared laughs, and had moments of great understanding. Desi Arnaz Jr. had a difficult relationship with his father. When he was young, he found it tough to live in the shadow of his two famous parents. He also had to deal with issues like early fame and personal struggles. Throughout everything, Desi Sr. stood by his son, wanting him to be happy and discover his way in life. Even during difficult times, Desi Jr. knew he could rely on his father for support, guidance, love, and forgiveness. During Desi Arnaz's last years, his children stayed close to him. In 1986, Lucy and Desi Jr. continued their father's legacy after he died. Retirement and personal struggles. In his later years, Desi Arnaz enjoyed his retirement by pursuing his favorite activities. He had been sailing since he was a child and spent a lot of time sailing his yacht, which brought him happiness. He also found comfort in fishing and loved cooking traditional Cuban meals to stay connected to his roots. Even though he stepped back from show business, he remained involved in charity work and his community. Arnaz supported organizations like San Diego State University as part of his dedication to giving back. Even though he took a break from being in the public eye, he still showed up at events every now and then. One of the most memorable occasions was in March 1982, when he was a special guest at Carnival Miami. In front of 35 the people, he sang with his children, Lucy and Desi Jr., showing his love for his family and Cuban background. Arnaz loved spending time with his grandchildren and enjoyed his semi-retirement in Del Mar, California, after marrying Edith Mack Hirsch. He also owned a horse breeding farm in Corona, California, where he pursued his passion for horse racing. His legacy in the racing community was recognized by naming a stakes race after him at Del Mar Racetrack. Although Arnaz mostly stayed out of the public eye, he did encounter legal issues throughout the years. He was taken into custody for being publicly drunk in 1959 while strolling along Hollywood Boulevard. In 1966, he faced a more serious situation when he was accused of assault with a deadly weapon. This took place when two young men parked near his house and bothered his 15-year-old daughter, Lucy, and her friend. He confronted them, warning to fire their car tires before releasing two fires into the ground. As a result, he was arrested in San Diego and held for 3 hours before being released on $1,100 bail. Arnaz faced ongoing health problems all his life. When he was young, he hurt his knees, which eventually stopped him from fighting in World War II in another country. In the late 1960s, Arnaz had a bad accident at his home in Baja California. The floor gave way and he got impaled by a tree stump. He almost died from his injuries, but surgery saved him. Despite this, his health never fully recovered and he had lasting issues. He also suffered from recurring diverticulitis, a painful stomach condition that often needed medical help and time in the hospital. In his last years, Arnaz dealt with a tough challenge: his battle with alcoholism. Years of heavy drinking had seriously impacted his health, and after the death of his second wife, Edith, in 1985, his children encouraged him to get help. Lucy Arnaz later shared how proud she was to see her father bravely address his addiction. She went with him to a treatment meeting where he admitted that he was an alcoholic. This was a crucial moment for him, showing his determination to confront his inner struggles and work towards staying sober. Despite facing many challenges, Desi Arnaz was still loved by many people, both in the entertainment industry and in his personal life. But how did Arnaz spend his final years? What were the circumstances surrounding his tragic death? Desi Arnaz's final days and tragic death. Desi Arnaz, who smoked his entire life, fought lung cancer in 1986 after smoking cigarettes and cigars for many years. When he was diagnosed, Arnaz was in his 60s and his health had worsened a lot. While he was in the hospital, Lucille Ball visited him often, and they watched VHS tapes of I Love Lucy together. Arnaz's daughter, Lucy, also stayed with him and gave him lots of support during his last days. On November 30, 1986, Ball phoned Arnaz in the hospital. Their talk was short because Arnaz was very sick. He had hardly talked to anyone and hadn't had anything to eat for 3 days. Lucy said that Ball said, I love you, Desi, I love you, affectionately before Arnaz replied, I love you too, honey. Good luck with your show. Lucy did not fully understand the importance of their final chat until she looked at her diary and saw that it was their 46th wedding anniversary. 2 days after, on December 2, 1986, Arnaz died when he was 69 years old. He passed away just before Lucille Ball's death, which happened 3 years later. Arnaz was cremated and his remains were scattered in the Sea of Cortez, Mexico. His funeral took place at St. James Roman Catholic Church in San Diego County, California, and was attended by many people, including Ball. Despite their rocky relationship, Lucille Ball showed up at the funeral to pay her respects to the man she had shared personal and professional milestones with. Arnaz passed away only 5 days before Lucille Ball was honored at the Kennedy Center, which signified the end of an era for both of them as influential figures in American television. His mother, Dolores, lived for almost 2 years after his death. Arnaz dedicated much of his life to building his career and accumulating wealth. But where did it all go? Let's take a closer look at his fortune, properties, and who inherited them. Desi Arnaz's wealth and inheritance. Desi Arnaz was known for being a talented, charming, and savvy businessman. He is most famous for creating the show I Love Lucy with his wife Lucille Ball, which made him a Hollywood icon and earned him a lot of money. When he died in 1986, Arnaz was worth around $20 million, thanks to his successful career in acting, music, TV production, and business. Desi Arnaz was not only an actor, but also a trailblazer in TV production. He helped revolutionize the television industry by co-founding Desilu Productions. This company became highly successful and produced popular shows like I Love Lucy, Star Trek, and Mission Impossible. Even though he sold his stake in the company to Lucille Ball in 1962, Desi Arnaz had already become very wealthy from its success. Arnaz was not only known for his work in television, but also for his success as a musician. He had popular songs, performed live, and had various business interests that helped him become wealthy. In addition, his real estate investments and lavish lifestyle further boosted his fortune. Arnaz had many impressive properties during his life. One of his most well-known homes was a large estate in Del Mar, California. This beachfront property was his peaceful getaway in his later years, with beautiful views of the ocean and luxurious living accommodations. Additionally, he owned other properties in Los Angeles and Palm Springs. Apart from owning real estate, Arnaz also possessed valuable assets such as vintage cars, unique collectibles, and investments in entertainment businesses. Even after leaving Hollywood, his various business endeavors were still profitable and generating income. In 1986, after Desi Arnaz died from lung cancer, his belongings were passed on to his 2 kids, Lucy Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr. They received his money, belongings, and any business interests he had left. Both Lucy and Desi Jr. worked in show business, so they knew how important their father's legacy was. Arnaz divorced Lucille Ball many years before he died, so she did not receive any share of his inheritance. Despite this, their children made sure to pay tribute to their father's name and accomplishments. Desi Arnaz's legacy and portrayals. Desi Arnaz has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. one on 6,301 Hollywood Boulevard for his work in movies, and another on 6,250 Hollywood Boulevard for his work in television. Unlike his fellow actors on I Love Lucy, Arnaz was never nominated for an Emmy for his acting on the show. However, as the executive producer of the show, he was nominated 4 times in the Best Situation Comedy category and won twice. In 1956, Arnaz won a Golden Globe for Best Television Achievement for his contributions to American comedy through his work both in front of and behind the camera on I Love Lucy. He was also inducted into the Television Academy's Hall of Fame. The museum honoring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz is located in Jamestown, New York. The bandshell dedicated to Desi Arnaz can be found in Lucille Ball Memorial Park in Celeron, New York. Desi Arnaz Jr. is featured as a character in the 1989 novel The Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love by Oscar Hijuelos, and is played by Desi Arnaz Jr. in the 1992 movie adaptation called The Mambo Kings. In 1991, Maurice Benard played the role of Desi Arnaz in the TV movie Lucy and Daisy, Before the Laughter. The television film Lucy, which aired in 2003, featured Danny Pino playing the role of Desi Arnaz. Arnaz was played by Oscar Nunez in a comedy called I Love Lucy, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Sitcom. The show was about Arnaz and Ball struggling to get their sitcom on TV. It premiered in Los Angeles on July 12, 2018, with Sarah Drew as Lucille Ball and Seamus Dever as Jess Oppenheimer, the creator of I Love Lucy. The play, written by Jess Oppenheimer's son Greg, was recorded with a live audience for National Public Radio and online distribution. The BBC Radio 4 aired a serialized version of the play in the UK in 2020 called Lucy Loves Daisy, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Sitcom, starring Wilmer Valderrama as Arnaz and Anne Heche as Lucille Ball. On March 2, 2019, Google honored what would have been Arnaz's 102nd birthday with a special Google Doodle. Javier Bardem played the role of Arnaz in the movie Being the Ricardos, which came out in 2021. The film was written and directed by Aaron Sorkin and produced by Amazon Studios. Nicole Kidman played Ball in the movie as well. Bardem's performance earned him a nomination for an Academy Award for Best Actor. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.